Hello everyone, welcome to my channel Telecast-tv. I'm Miracle Angola. You're watching a conversation between two world leaders, Iran leader Brigadier General and the President of United States of America, saying that any form of war will lead to World War III, and it will affect all the countries in the Middle East, whereby any form of strike from the USA will attract war, and they are severely ready. Iran has proclaimed they are ready for any kind of war, and they are well prepared. Share your thoughts about this. Will this World War III happen? And what are the possible chances that there would be peace among these two warring factions? Endeavor to watch this video to the end. Please subscribe. Don't miss trending videos. Drop your comment and opinion.
Sharp and immediate warning from Tehran. Iran's army cautions that Trump is playing with fire, casting a long shadow over the delicate nuclear negotiations. With no deal in sight, Trump faces a lose-lose scenario as Iran vows an unprecedented response if conflict breaks out. As war threats continue to escalate, Iran's army directly warned the US government, underscoring how fragile and dangerous the current standoff has become in the region. Iran cautioned that any unwise or reckless US move could spark a widespread fire across the Middle East, dragging multiple countries into a larger and more volatile confrontation. Tehran seized on Donald Trump's strike rhetoric to signal it was prepared for a region-wide war, making clear it would respond forcefully if military action crossed its red lines. Iranian officials framed the US-Iran standoff as a test of Washington's wisdom in the Middle East, suggesting that future stability hinges on how carefully American leaders now act. Brigadier General Abolfazl Sherkachi warned that any attack on Iran would trigger a response unlike anything the US has experienced before, stressing the military's readiness for severe retaliation. Spokesperson of Iranian Armed Forces, Brigadier General Abolfazl Sherkachi, said, and I quote, "The armed forces of the Islamic Republic of Iran, relying on their defensive and offensive capabilities and the support of the Iranian people, are monitoring all movements of the US Army and the Zionist regime in the region. US military presence in West Asia is psychological warfare, blackmail, and bullying. If US officials were wise and rational and fully understood Iran's true military capabilities, they would avoid talk of war. US soldiers and their equipment will be destroyed, and all US resources and interests in the region will be within the firing range of Iran. We have proven that we are not warmongers, but we are not afraid of war, and we will defend the country and the interests of the nation with strength." Iran's stark military warning landed just as President Trump was being briefed on new strike options, highlighting how diplomacy and planning for potential conflict are now unfolding in parallel. Navy Admiral Brad Cooper reportedly outlined possible military options on Iran to President Trump, a briefing that, according to ABC News, focused on how any action might reshape the regional balance. As head of US Central Command, Admiral Brad Cooper oversees American troops and operations across the Middle East, giving him a central role in any planning for strikes on Iran. General Dan Kane, chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff and Trump's top military advisor, was also in the room, underscoring that the briefing reflected the highest level of US military counsel. The warning coincided with Trump ordering additional troops, warplanes, and a carrier strike group into the region, signaling a visible military buildup alongside the tense rhetoric. In late January, Trump publicly boasted of another beautiful armada sailing toward Iran, using the deployment to pressure Tehran while insisting he still hoped for a negotiated deal. Trump warned that if Iran refused a deal, the consequences would be far worse than the 2025 strikes, implying any future confrontation could be broader and more destructive than last year's campaign. The US president has simultaneously faced strong internal warnings against entering a new war with Iran, with advisors stressing the risks to American forces, resources, and wider strategic priorities. General Dan Kane has reportedly told Trump that attacking Iran would carry significant costs, including potential losses, regional escalation, and strain on already stretched US military assets. Kane cautioned that a major clash could force the US to expend large quantities of air defense munitions, weapons that are in limited supply and needed for other global contingencies. He also warned, as reported by Axios, that a strike on Iran could drag the US into a prolonged conflict, making it difficult to control the timeline, costs, or ultimate outcome of the war. In his State of the Union address, Trump claimed Iran has missiles that already threaten Europe and US bases, and is working on systems that could eventually reach the American mainland.
As president, I will make peace wherever I can, but I will never hesitate to confront threats to America wherever we must. That's why in a breakthrough operation last June, the United States military obliterated Iran's nuclear weapons program with an attack on Iranian soil known as Operation Midnight Hammer. Good. For decades, it had been the policy of the United States never to allow Iran to obtain a nuclear weapon. Many decades. Since they seized control of that proud nation 47 years ago, the regime and its murderous proxies have spread nothing but terrorism and death and hate. They've killed and maimed thousands of American service members and hundreds of thousands and even millions of people with what's called roadside bombs. They were the kings of the roadside bomb. And we took out Soleimani. I did that during my first term. Had a huge impact. He was the father of the roadside bomb. And just over the last couple of months with the protests, they've killed at least, it looks like 32,000 protests, 32,000 protesters in their own country. They shot them and hung them. We stopped them from hanging a lot of them with the threat of serious violence. But this is some terrible people. They've already developed missiles that can threaten Europe and our bases overseas, and they're working to build missiles that will soon reach the United States of America. After Midnight Hammer, they were warned to make no future attempts to rebuild their weapons program, and in particular, nuclear weapons. Yet they continue, starting it all over. We wiped it out, and they want to start it all over again, and are at this moment again pursuing their sinister ambitions. We are in negotiations with them. They want to make a deal, but we haven't heard those secret words. We will never have a nuclear weapon. My preference is to solve this problem through diplomacy. But one thing is certain, I will never allow the world's #1 sponsor of terror, which they are by far, to have a nuclear weapon. Can't let that happen. And no nation should ever doubt America's resolve. We have the most powerful military on earth. I rebuilt the military in my first term. We're going to continue to do so. Also, we just approved a $1 trillion budget. We have no choice. We have to be strong, because hopefully we will seldom have to use this great power that we built together. It's really called peace through strength, and it's been very, very effective.
All these military moves and sharp warnings are unfolding even as Iran and the US complete a third round of sensitive nuclear talks in Geneva, underscoring the high stakes surrounding the negotiations. The latest Iran-US meeting has been described as the most serious and longest round so far, yet only limited official details have emerged, leaving key parts of what was discussed behind closed doors. Iran's Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi says the talks made significant progress toward a possible agreement, while the US side has largely stayed publicly silent, adding to uncertainty over how close a deal really is.
There's been significant progress on some issues in the current understanding. It is natural to have differences of opinion. Today, I can say that this has been one of the most serious and prolonged rounds of negotiations we've had. We met for nearly 4 hours this morning and about 2 hours again in the evening. During the indirect talks, Oman's foreign minister, Mr. Al-Busaidi, and at certain points, Mr. Grossi, conveyed messages between the two sides. Mr. Grossi's presence was helpful in addressing technical issues, and Mr. Al-Busaidi, as always, played an important facilitating role. Over these long and very intensive hours, we made good progress and seriously examined the key elements of a potential agreement, both in the nuclear field and regarding sanctions. There has been significant progress on some issues in the current understanding. It is natural to have differences of opinion, but perhaps there was more seriousness on both sides than before to reach a negotiated solution. We decided that the technical teams would start working on technical assessments in Vienna from Monday, with the assistance of what are called experts from that organization at the International Atomic Energy Agency, to bring some technical issues into a framework and format that would align with the political demands of both sides. It was also decided that the next round of negotiations would be held very soon, perhaps within the next week or so. Overall, as I mentioned, I can say that it was one of our best negotiation courses, one of the most serious, and the longest. Mr. Al-Busaidi, the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Oman, also mentioned in a tweet that very good progress was made. In the area of sanctions relief, we have clearly stated our demands, what our expectations are, and what needs to be achieved regarding the various dimensions and areas of America's unilateral sanctions, the discussion in the Security Council, the disagreements that exist, and what needs to happen have been clearly stated on our part. It has been agreed that in the next session, we will delve into this discussion in more detail. On Monday, technical sessions will begin at the agency. This in itself shows that both sides are serious and are now moving into detailed expert-level discussions. We have agreed to hold the fourth round of negotiations soon. I expect it will take place within about a week. In the meantime, there are several steps both sides need to take, preparing certain documents and holding consultations in their respective capitals, after which we will proceed to the next session.
IAEA Chief Rafael Grossi is reported to have played a key behind-the-scenes role in shaping the draft framework of a possible nuclear deal, advising negotiators on technical safeguards and verification measures. Technical-level talks are expected to resume in Vienna once both sides consult their leaders, with teams set to refine the details after Ayatollah Khamenei and President Trump review the Geneva outcome.
US is preparing for war. Iran is preparing to strike back hard. America has now positioned the second aircraft carrier in strike position. It's the heaviest military deployment in decades. Now the third round of talks between US and Iran have ended with no clear resolution in sight. US wants submission from Iran, but Tehran says it will not break. Tehran is in advanced talks to acquire jet killer missiles from Russia and carrier killer missiles from China. Watch our special report where we bring you up to date with what's happening.
American firepower is racing towards Iran. More jets. More ships. More muscle in striking distance. But as Washington builds its armada, Tehran is shopping for weapons designed to pierce it. Steel moves silently across the sea. Fighter jets scream overhead. Nuclear-powered warships are ready to strike. Beneath the surface, calculations are turning brutal. The United States has rapidly expanded its military footprint near Iran. A second aircraft carrier strike group has moved within operational range. Advanced fighters, including F-22s, have been deployed forward. This is the most lethal military buildup in years. The message is unmistakable. The US military remains overwhelmingly superior in reach, technology and firepower. Carrier decks packed with strike aircraft, destroyers armed with missile shields, submarines operating unseen. But Iran is not standing still. According to reports, Tehran is nearing a deal for Chinese supersonic anti-ship missiles. Iran is poised to acquire Chinese-made CM-302 missiles. These carrier killers can carry a quarter of a ton of explosives and fly at 4 times the speed of sound with a range of 290 kilometers. Their zigzagging evasive maneuvers can confuse ships' defenses. Weapons designed to travel at blistering speeds, maneuver mid-flight and strike hard. These missiles pose a clear and present danger to the US aircraft carriers. Yes, they are protected by a layered defense, but a supersonic missile traveling along with a swarm of Iranian drones and cruise missiles can breach the American missile shield. The USS Abraham Lincoln carrier strike group is currently stationed in the Arabian Sea, south of Iran, while a second carrier group, the USS Gerald Ford, is also approaching the region. The loss of even a single ship would be a historic humiliation for the US and politically disastrous for Donald Trump. At the same time, Iran is also pursuing advanced Russian missiles capable of targeting fighter jets. Tehran and Moscow reportedly signed a $589 million agreement in December. According to the deal, Russia would deliver 500 man-portable Verba launch units and 2,500 9M336 missiles to Iran over 3 years. These deals are being struck behind closed doors. Many nations don't make such acquisitions public. If Iran actually gets its hands on such weaponry, then the balance of power changes completely. Iran has not sealed the weapon deals yet, but the intent is clear. Raise the cost of any strike, complicate American air superiority, force American commanders to think twice before moving carriers close to shore. The cost of this standoff is not abstract. Every day, the Armada holds position. It burns tens of millions of dollars. Trump arrived at his State of the Union carrying that pressure. He told US lawmakers that Iran possesses missiles capable of striking the American homeland.
They've already developed missiles that can threaten Europe and our bases overseas, and they're working to build missiles that will soon reach the United States of America.
Tehran dismissed the claim as a lie. Meanwhile, American media reported that a top US general flagged grave risks in any strike on Iran. Donald Trump publicly rejected those reports. Even the optics are complex. The USS Gerald Ford, America's most advanced carrier, has faced plumbing problems during deployment. A minor issue perhaps, but symbolic in a moment of maximum pressure. Neither side seems to want a war, but they fear the costs of backing down and are apparently convinced that the other side will blink first.